What words of wisdom do you have in the wake of all of this layoff news?
Wow. Well, it's hard to know where to start. I mean, first of all, I want to express my sympathy for anyone that was impacted, and
Mhm.
pretty much anyone at these companies too. I think you have to think about it in that way too. And the one thing I always think about, because I went through this in 2015, the last time Target had a really big layoff, and my boss at the time said, for a lot of these people, for a lot of the workers, at Target particularly, and I think this is true of any company, particularly if you work in a regional city like we do in Minneapolis, a
Mhm.
lot of times it's like being asked to leave your church. And so it can be very hard and very trying for a lot of people. So my heart goes out to them. When I step back from it and try to make sense of it all, I think it brings up a lot of questions for me. Is it coincidental that these announcements happen on the same day? Yeah, probably. But could it be a sign that there's more to come throughout the industry, especially as you look at macroeconomics and the AI factors that are at play? Yeah, potentially. I think that's the real reality here. And then the other point I'd bring up is, it makes me look at, how are these announcements communicated? And, it's two very different approaches. Amazon being very transparent and saying AI is a factor. Not having worked there, I can't really comment on what that, means for the culture there, or, how their employees are going to take it. But, I look at that in contrast to what, Target CEO said and what you did. And the big question I have there is just, how can you come out and say that when you were the CFO and the COO who was in charge of basically financing and greenlighting that organizational structure throughout the organization, and yet you and the former CEO are still around and still leading the company? So that just doesn't ring true to me very well, and I wonder if the culture honestly can ever recover from that when you get down to it. But I
Mhm.
don't know. I hope he takes feedback well, and I hope he brings in some people then that can help him to rejuvenate the culture and can get the spirit of Target alive again. But I think it's gonna be a tough road ahead for sure.